Let's explore how fast you could master Buddhist energy healing. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Facebook. Hello, my friend. I was wondering if we could possibly explore the energy work you described last night in the context of the person that experienced a seizure on the bus. I do my best to use my energy to heal, but Sturgeon's Law says that I have absolutely no effing clue what I'm doing. And the road to hell is paved with good intentions, so I better seek some guidance. The individual who wrote this has a sharp mind and a beautiful heart. Kevin, Jay, and the two kitty cat overlords, to you I send such a hug. Let's begin with a bit of the old broad brushstrokes. Although I have been practicing energy healing in one form or another since the 80s, at this point in my life I would insist that energy work is the modality of last resort. Once you've exhausted all medical modalities and imagings and tests, then go hog wild. If you can't afford medical treatment and there's no one who can help you get medical treatment, then go hog wild with energy work. But if you can, do your due diligence beforehand. An acquaintance of mine decided to forego cancer treatment for hypnosis. That didn't work out well for him. And so few things weigh as heavy upon the heart as regret. And so whenever someone comes to me and ask for energy work for something serious, my first thing is, have you exhausted the medical avenues? If they haven't and they can afford to do so, I implore them to do that. If someone is in pain but they're going in for testing, I don't treat them till after the testing because I don't want to interfere. I don't want to do anything that could skew the test. That's very, very important to me. It's easy to become drunk with self-importance. It's easy to buy one's own press and think that one is all that in a bag of chips. But one is not always all that in a bag of chips. And it's best to err on the side of humility and put others' well-being before our own enthusiasm. Energy work is simply using electromagnetism as a modality to benefit people. I am not a great statistician. I have an acquaintance who is. His name is Mike. He has a channel on YouTube called Mike the Vegan. And boy, that guy can just slice and dice a peer-reviewed study like nobody's business. He knows his way around statistics. I don't. And so I have to acquiesce to people whose expertise exceeds mine. But I've been told that there are studies, especially out of Japan and China, validating the effectiveness of energy work within the context of traditional Chinese medicine. Once again, I don't have a degree in that. I'm just an enthusiast. Here's a quote you've heard me say a ridiculous number of times. And of course, if I was really sharp, I would check just to make sure the microphone's working. Good. Excellent. So here's a quote you've heard me say far too many times. Einstein is reported to have quipped that any educated idiot can make things more complicated, more difficult, and more violent. But it takes a lot of courage and a little bit of genius to move in the opposite direction. Well, folks, I was that idiot. I used to, many years ago, I delighted in making it just as difficult as possible so that I could earn awesome points. Part of it was out of enthusiasm, part of it was out of fear, and part of it was just because I wanted to be important. Few things contain pride like fatigue. Few things put things in perspective like the direness of a situation and the fact that one doesn't have unlimited time and unlimited vitality. And so one searches for that which is most efficient. So there are many flavors of energy work, and many of these trainings will cost you thousands of dollars. What I teach absolutely for free. So always search for the easiest modality. The more people you work on, the more you'll notice what seems to work and what doesn't seem to work. And sometimes the most efficient thing is non-energetic stuff. In other words, making sure, or at least imploring the people who come to you for energy work, that they've got to do their fair share. They've got to get enough sleep. They got to sleep in harmony with their circadian rhythms, which means unless they are a doggy or a kitty, they are diurnal and must sleep at night as best they can. People need fresh air, sunshine, water, fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, grains, legumes, pulses, tubers, herbs, and spices. And it might sound like I'm a cannibal making a human recipe, but there are lots of, what's it called? Antioxidants in herbs and spices. So we need to do what we can to live as healthy as possible. Because if you're spending time and energy trying to heal someone with a serious condition, meanwhile they're powering down liters of soda and cheeseburgers and illicit substances every day, healing them will become a Sisyphean task. So in the power of simplicity, what I do is I blend my energy work with Buddhist sadhana. And even though it's fun, it's tempting to be a snob, few things are as powerful as chanting. So I don't use silent sadhana, I use mantra-oriented sadhana when doing healing work on people. And so I try to make it just as natural and as easy as possible. So let's continue. Contrary to the ravings of spiritual teachers or so-called spiritual teachers who think it's a good idea to be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and sometimes cruel, we do not have to force love. We are already wired by evolution to be loving. The less time we spend actively concentrating and actively contemplating, and the more time we spend practicing passive mindfulness and passive meditation, the more effortless and powerful and dynamic and nimble our love will be. Practice the meditations and the sadhana that will follow, and the growth of your love will become an inevitability. You never want to run energy on someone without their express permission. Consent is queen. Always get consent. Get. I can't tell you how many damn Reiki practitioners have come up to me and said in the most smarmy of way, I've been running energy on you for a week. Yeah, without consent, you big old rapist. Damn. Everybody, every boy should in junior high should be given a cat. Because cats are all about consent. Oh, they don't want consent. They'll just do whatever they want to you. But they demand consent. And if you touch them without consent, they will slice and dice your privileged ass into your next life. No one will teach you consent like Guru Kitty Cat. So get consent before you run energy, and by all means get consent before you lay hands on people. For some people who are emotionally traumatized, they will not let you touch them. They might ask for healing, but they don't want you to touch them. So you can place the center of your palm over the point that you want to send energy to, if they will let you do that. Some people don't even want your hand entering their aura. And so you have to respect that. And if that's the case, I recommend either them lying down on a couch and me sitting on the floor in front of them, keeping my hands to myself, but lavishing them with my intention. Or if they feel too vulnerable in that position, and there's all types of trauma, guys. If someone feels too vulnerable in that position, they can sit in a chair facing you, perhaps across from you. Maybe across from you, like separated by a card table. I know that seems absurd, but we got to work with people where they're at. Well said, Kevin. One of the great things about Kevin Hayes is that he shares the first name as the protagonist from Devil's Advocate. And so I can always hear Al Pacino saying, Kevin. Remember that wonderful line? Kevin, it's not that you didn't love your wife. It's just that you loved yourself so much more. Look, pull out the arrow. Anyway, so let's continue. So there are different traditions for a hand placement. Some say memorize all the meridians and memorize all the acupoints and place your finger on the specific points you want to treat, but that's not simplicity. Some people say place your palms upon joints, whether the joints of the vertebra, the nearest joint to the presenting problem. Some people say sandwich the presenting your both hands on either side of the presenting problem. Some say touch the presenting problem. Some say hover your hand over the presenting problem. There are all sorts of traditions. But the sixth fold of the Buddha's eightfold path could be described as the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity that is generated by our practice of mindfulness and meditation. The more we make a habit out of flowing from this centered spontaneity, the more we'll know where to place our hands, how to place our hands, and in what sequence to place our hands. There is no substitute for mindfulness and meditation and just having the opportunity to do energy work on people. So mastering energy work is a lot, when it's done properly, it's a lot like mastering the Buddhist path. The Buddha said you can master the path intellectually in as little as a week. For us Westerners, who were not raised counting our creases or sitting cross-legged on the floor, we can gradually build stamina and sit for 5 minutes every 12 hours the first week, 10 minutes every 12 hours the second week, until by the conclusion of the 15th week, we are at last comfortable sitting for 75 minutes straight. Fabulous. Similarly, if we have a steady stream of people in our life, friends or family, that we can work on, we will get better and better. At the beginning, there's a wonderful Vincent D'Onofrio movie where he's a serial killer, And there was a wonderful Indian director. Forgot the name of the movie. Came out probably in the early 2000s. But he's reminiscing. And he says, oh, my first victim, I made such a mess of her. So whether you're a healer or a serial killer, there's always going to be a learning curve. And so the antidote to perfectionism is repetition. And so if you gather your friends and say, I'm trying to learn this new skill, I'd like to experiment on you once a day or once a week, and as a fringe benefit, it'll help with your chronic pain, that's helpful. If you have a relative or a friend who's older and already suffers from something benign like arthritis or chronic pain, they will be more likely than not happy to work with you. And because pain is already a constant in their life, they've become like a sommelier of pain. And they can say, well, I noticed it got a little bit worse when you did that. I got a little bit better when you did that. And when you did this, it curled my toes. The more you practice, the more your cats are going to be drawn to you. Because I think the medical term is energy sluts. Cats are energy sluts. They are super sensitive to EM phenomena, and they will just love all over you when you're running energy. So when I'm doing sadhana, I'll run energy from beginning to end. While I'm doing chanting, when I'm doing mantra, when I'm doing silent meditation. The whole Megillah. Because each will create a different frequency in our energy work. We live in an age where most people have magical glass bricks we call smartphones. And the sadhana that I write, everything that I write is formatted to be read as a PDF on your phone horizontally. On my download page on the website, found on my main YouTube page, there are instructions how to download the free Kindle app to navigate PDFs so that they don't automatically close on you or they don't automatically go back to the home page on you, so that you can have a stable experience and not, lose your shit, which is frowned upon amongst energy workers. So all the techniques I'm using tonight and all the texts I use are always available for free download. Now, sometimes I fall behind in keeping my download page up to date, but if you remind me, aka nudge me or nag me, I'll be happy to keep it more up to date. And I think that's all the news that's fit to print. So all that's left now is the application of these broad, vague principles, which I look forward to doing after, you guessed it, approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Oh, how cool. Oh my goodness, be careful of all of a sudden you wind up on the corporate papers. For those who aren't Kevin, I was referring to the movie Devil's Advocate because Kevin works at a law firm, blah, blah, blah. Let's go on. So, Who is this kind gaze? Well, kind gaze is described in Sanskrit as Avalokiteshvara and in Tibetan as Chenrei Zig. For those who traverse the path of being flexible, loving, and laid back, kind gaze is merely an archetype whose iconography reminds us that we are wired to master, no less practice, awareness and letting go, love and letting go, as well as bliss and letting go. Since we're going to flip-flop between silent meditation and mantra meditation, let's review the meaning of the most famous Buddhist mantra together. Om I invoke the wish of healing, money, jewel of love, and the purifying pay lotus of letting go, supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. Got to put that AC on before I melt like a candle. Please chant with me. Let us invite real imagine Lama Amitabha Yabhyam to the crown of our head, and that in the union of bliss and letting go we may train. So if we were working on someone, placing a palm, preferably a right palm, upon the crown of their head while performing this chant is, as they say in Italy, molto bene. That means very, very good. I know this from a pasta commercial. So here's the trick. Here's the philosopher's stone that transforms the lead of mindless mantra recitation into the gold of mantra meditation. During the inhalation, we could silently, mentally, and passively recite this italicized bit. And during our exhalation, we can physically relax as best we can while chanting these 6-syllable mantra 8 times per breath. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. So what I think I'll do is actually access a photograph of my pal's dad, who has a bit of the old cancer right now. So I'm not sure if you can see this on the camera. Let's see. I'm gonna tap button 4 and subject you to jumbo face. And let's see, if I go like this, this is Charlie. Charlie has some cancer. So if you want to send Charlie some energy, this is a great opportunity to practice with me. Let's see, how do I want to do this? I guess I'll tap button 9 again. So let's continue. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. So if you wanted to, you could replace the pronoun this with the word Charlie. You don't have to, but you could. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung, om mani mimi yung, Mani Mimiun. Let us begin. Let us take 4 steps upon the path to mastering silent meditation. We can begin with mindfulness, the 7th fold of the Buddha's 8-fold path. As we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system. No, it is not found within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears. Instead, it is ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord, despite the sloppiness of this graphic illustration. No, the sympathetic nervous system has not evolved to support either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. However, the sympathetic nervous system has evolved to support our perception, to help us to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Vulnerability is the price we pay for perception. And we never feel as vulnerable as when we are naked. Perhaps that is why the 2 figures of this meditational archetype are depicted as nude. Now, if you heard me correctly, you understand that we're not supposed to actively concentrate upon our breath. What do we do with our breath? We treat our breath the way a piano student treats their metronome. As we notice our body breathing in, we could silently and mentally recite, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. And when we notice our body exhaling, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. What I'd like to do right now is practice this for 16 rounds. A round in this context is simply 1 in-breath followed by 1 out-breath. Now the real interesting question is how we're going to count 16 rounds on just the 4 fingers and 1 thumb of my left hand. And the answer is Bengali crease counting. Every time I breathe in, I advance the tip of my thumb so that I can touch one of many sets of creases and one of many fingertips. I'm doing all this jibber-jabbering, therefore I'm breathing faster than you. Therefore, in the time it takes me to do 16 rounds, you might only do 12 or 8. That's not an indictment. Don't beat yourself up. But if you wish, you're welcome to follow along. Now, normally I keep my hands in my lap, but for this one repetition, I'll do it visually. Let's silently and mentally recite our 12-syllable exercise. And yes, you can perform Bengali crease counting while you're laying hands on someone. Just warn them that you'll be doing that. Otherwise, they might be concerned you're feeling them up. Like I said, people are recovering from all sorts of trauma, and communication can be helpful. Let's continue. We turn our attention to the outer set of preliminary practices. Let's chant. So once again, as you're sitting here, what you may want to do is pretend there's a letter C in the center of your palms. C, of course, being the first initial of good old Charlie, whose health we wish to boost. Let us courageously exercise our vulnerability to notice other stress, and that the seeds of empathy we may sow. Once again, you always want someone's consent, and you always want their cooperation. One time, this horrible person called me up from halfway around the world and said, I want you to work on me while I watch TV. It's like, no, ma'am, you gotta converse with me and have the TV off and the radio off and just be here with me. So, and she didn't want to do that. If someone is self-destructive, you can't help them. You can only help them if they will cooperate with you. If someone has a type of dopamine regulation disorder that makes them prone to addiction, we cannot just wave a hand and fix that, although it would be really cool if we could. We have to work with them. We cannot violate their will. And their will is more than what they communicate verbally. It's also what they communicate non-verbally. So if someone says, I want to get clean, and they're saying that to you while just downing shots, they're verbally communicating what they are verbally communicating is in contradiction to what they are physically communicating. And that's a different situation. Let us courageously exercise our vulnerability to notice others' stress, that the seeds of empathy we may sow. So I don't recommend actively concentrating on a letter C in the center of your palm, but from time to time visualize them or draw one. Just to draw one with your finger will suffice. It's the intention that counts. Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung. And of course we can replace the word others with the noun Charlie. Instead of torturing ourselves with a fear of karma, may we view interdependence as the opportunity for our love to lighten the loads of others. So we can replace others with Charlie if we want. Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung. Pop quiz. What is the fundamental duality of Buddhism? Please type it in the chat window. rather than torment ourselves with the dread of death. May we view impermanence as that which makes of grasping an absurdity. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. The fundamental duality of Buddhism is hating and craving. So we might hate someone's suffering and crave their health, but to indulge that could be dangerous. So even though we compassionately long to free people from suffering and lovingly wish to lavish them with blessings, we act on love as we breathe in, but we always let go as we breathe out. That is how we're able to balance love and letting go. Instead of straining to make the most of each precious meditation opportunity, we could simply flow from the centered spontaneity generated by mindfulness and meditation. Remember, this represents our own enlightened potential. Nothing mystical, just a collection of iconography. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. So, quick review. Okay, let's review over here. Every time we inhale, we access a sympathetic nervous system that facilitates perception. We can perceive sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, as well as emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We can perceive the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. What do we do with all these things that we notice? Meditation, the eighth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, we are accessing our parasympathetic nervous system. Ensconced within the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord, as well as the tippy top of its cervical region, this parasympathetic nervous system is evolved to support our physical relaxation as well as our mental release. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel less graspable. Now, since we have evolved to think symbolically, let's add some figurative language into the equation, or to the equation. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. And the English teacher worth her salt will remind us that a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. What, therefore, is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could be tantalizing to the eye, is most assuredly non-graspable to the hand. Perhaps that is why these two individuals comprising this archetype of enlightenment are depicted as translucent and as non-graspable as a rainbow. During our inhalation, we could please silently and mentally recite sitting tall, thus reminding the tissues of our body to generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head. During our exhalation, let us silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb, relaxing. And yes, you could still do this while imagining the initial C on the center of each palm. We now practice the inner set of preliminary practices in harmony with the instructions of one of Tibet's most renowned yogis, Dzogchen Rinpoche, as described in his final meditation, the heart treasure of the enlightened ones. In our compassion, may we long to free all beings from the toxic tyranny of hate, engraving, and clinging, metaphorically known as the 3 mental poisons. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. In our pragmatism, may our liberation of our lovers be fueled by your reliance on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students, described by the metaphor of the 3 wish-fulfilling jewels. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Oh, yes. Do me a favor, James and Kevin. When your cats start losing their minds and start rubbing up on you during tonight's practice, let me know. I would love to hear about that. I once worked with this one gal, and this one gal used to attend my live streams, and when I started chanting mantra, the cat would come over, I kid you not, and start licking the monitor. Start bathing the monitor. rather than squander our time and energy and defensiveness. How much wiser could it be to learn our mistakes' lessons that effortlessly flow from the centered spontaneity of mindfulness and meditation? Om mani mimi yung, mani mimi yung. 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 A life squandered in competition and greed leads not to peace and fulfillment. Better to live in cooperation and generosity. Add lives and may this mind shoot. Add lives and may this mind shoot out crown zone. Purifying, multiplying, and offering my stuff to the beings of nirvana and samsara. Om mani mimi yung, mani mimi yung. 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 Let us explore the first of three fringe benefits of mindfulness and meditation. 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. So let's explore this whole Meshigas through the lens of bad news, good news. And when we rely upon our medial prefrontal cortex to actively concentrate, as well as rely upon our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to actively contemplate, our blood, oddly enough, collects at the bottom of our limbic system, around our amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression. Kind of lame, huh? However, when instead of relying upon active concentration, we practice passive mindfulness, and when we retrade active contemplation for passive meditation, something amazing happens. Our blood shifts over here to our anterior cingulate gyrus, which is kind of like, looks like the letter C. Located a few centimeters behind our forehead, it functions as the hub of our mirror neurons and the seat of empathy and compassion and love. Perhaps this is why the greatest Dzogchen Lamas of Tibet have insisted that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. Perhaps that is why these two figures comprising this archetype of meditation are depicted just as beautiful as an artist is able to render it. Not all artists are created equal. Let us, during our inhalation, let us please silently and mentally recite, notice this. And during our exhalation, let us silently and mentally continue reciting the 3-syllable verb, relaxing. Let's chant. Oops, one moment. I feel icicles forming at the tip of my sizable nose. Let us invite real or imagined Lama Amitabha Yum to our heart mind, that in the union of bliss and letting go we may train. Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung. Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung 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 om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung. The second set of fringe benefits that come from the regular practice of mindfulness and meditation is the effortless effort, the 6th fold of the Buddha's 8-fold path, the effortless effort that guides our healing efforts and our counseling efforts. Please consider this gal, the color of a cumulus cloud, who is actively sporting in tantric union, thus reminding us that contrivance is always trumped by spontaneity. Now let us consider her consort, her partner, the color of the azure sky, who appears to be passively enjoying the same tantric union. This reminds us that not all spontaneity is of the same flavor, and that the scattered spontaneity we might feel after our 3rd espresso is always going to be trumped by the centered spontaneity generated by our practice of mindfulness and meditation. When our choices, utterances, and deeds flow from this effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, our life could be as blissful as the real or imagined paradise or pure land or vati found in Buddhist painting. During our inhalation, let us kick back and watch the antics of mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. While we do so, let us silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, let us physically relax as best we can into into mind's non-graspability. As silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb, ease. If you only have time to practice up until this point, do not lose heart, for this in and of itself is a complete practice. Everything that follows is the hummus on the bagel of your practice. Now that you have climbed to contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. All circumstances or lots could be as All circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this body or form. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. All bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into a rainbow light that could absorb into this communication or speech. Om Mani Mimi Yung, Om Mani Mimi Yung, Om Mani Mimi Yung, Om Mani Mimi All interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into a rainbow light that could absorb into this mind. Nope. It's a pay me, but sometimes I speak funny. Pay like what you want your boss to give you every week. Your pay. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As they say in Wisconsin, Kevin, yeah, sure, you betcha. All minds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into a rainbow light that could absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. Oopsie, let's try this again. Om mani mimi yung, om mani mimi yung, om mani pimi 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 yung. The third fringe benefit of training in mindfulness and meditation is that we spontaneously experience the right view of impermanence, which is the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. You see, every time we breathe in, we can't help but notice changes, sometimes subtle, sometimes jarring, but changes nonetheless. Changes in the sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. Changes in our emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Rather than indulge or controlling programming tendencies with all bodies of visualization, emotion, magic, and belief. We could just recite these words of love in harmony with all breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. May all minds of all beings know be as peacefully rise as the mind of a real or imagined Buddha, symbolized by a tikle, one syllable seed or bija mantra. Om Mani Bimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Bimi Yung. May all relationships of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddhist communication symbolized by the six-syllable mantra. Om Mani Bimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Bimi Yung. May all bodies of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddha's statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yadaman archetype of enlightenment such as Chenrezig. Om Mani Bimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Bimi Yung. May all circumstances or lots of all beings so have the good fortune or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land or Vati. Om Mani Bimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Bimi Yung. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the easier it is to spontaneously practice wishing love, the second fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. The essence of mental morality. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for literal statements, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. As we inhale, our circumstances, our lots could appear quite vivid. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined paradise or vati of light. Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung Om mani mimi yung mani mimi yung. As we inhale, our bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined octopoiedom of light. Om mani pemi hung, 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 om mani pemi hung. As we inhale, the interpersonal experience of communication or speech could sound quite resounding. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined mantra of light. Om mani bimi hung, 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 om mani bimi hung. As we inhale, we could notice all minds, perceptions, emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings quite clearly. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined bija seed settled of light. Om mani bimi hung, 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 om mani bimi hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever lower abdomen we might have noticed during our exhalation could begin to appear as non-graspable, as real or imagined, almost and mustard seeds, isolable of green lights. Om mani bimi hung, 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 om mani bimi hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever. So, by the way, while doing this is, you can actually, if you have their consent and you place your palms upon their lower abdomen, that's fabulous. During this recitation, with their consent, you would place the center of a palm, most likely your right palm, over the approximate location of their navel. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever navel we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable, as real or imagined, ranasambhavas, mustard seeds, isolable drum of gold light. Om mani bimi hung, 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 om mani bimi hung. Whoops, look at that. That is just bizarro. So aft here means behind the navel. And once again, with someone's permission, you could place your hands upon their sternum. If they have breasts, you might wish to invite them to lie upon their tummy. And then simply set your palm between their scapula or shoulder blades. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever chest we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as no graspable as real or imagined oxiobians. Mustard seeds are suitable hunger blue light. Om mani bimi hung, 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 om mani bimi hung. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever threat we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as real or imagined amitabhas. Mustard seeds are suitable, free of red light. Om mani bimi hung, 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 om mani bimi hung. Ooh, look at this, an editing opportunity. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever chronoscope we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as real or imagined vital chanas. Mustard seeds are suitable loam of white light. Om mani bimi hung, 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 om mani bimi hung. Let us seal this evening's practice with a bit of the old percussive chanting. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as wise as a Buddha's mind, symbolized by a one-syllable bija. Oopsie. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void now be as loving as a Buddha's speech, symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void now be as healthy as a yidam depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all forms of all beings appearing yet void now be as fortunate as a pure land of lore depicted in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10.5 hours, I would very much like to return to tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.